BTV ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸ਼ੋਕ ਅਚਿਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਸੀ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਦੇ ਸੱਦੇ ਤੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾਯੋਗ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਲੱਗ-ਅਲੱਗ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਲਿੰਕ ਸਥਾਪਿਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੋਟਰ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਮੀਟ ਐਂਡ ਗ੍ਰੀਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹਣੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ 3 ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਤੋਂ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਗਰੇਵਾਲ, ਰਿਵਰਬੈਂਡ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਜ਼ਨ ਕੇਕ ਅਤੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਗੇਟਵੇ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਡਲਾਈਨ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ।
I also chair an organization called Childcare Now Alberta. I was a founding member of it in Alberta. It's part of a broader organization called Childcare Now that's existed since the 80s. And we advocate for accessible, affordable, inclusive, high-quality childcare for everybody who would like to access it. So that's some of the background of what I've been doing. I've been an advocate for, over a decade now, just in Alberta, just trying to make things better for Alberta families. When I knock on the doors, the things that I hear are basically affordability as the number one thing, tariffs, and what are we going to do internationally about everything that's going on? And I really like the NDP's approach to this. So when it comes to tariffs, we have a really solid plan of how to respond and really to put Canada first and to make sure we're doing that. But the thing that stands out to me is that we don't leave working families behind. That our policies are not just geared towards certain sectors, they're not just geared towards certain levels, that we make sure that no one is left behind. And that's something that's really unique to the NDP and our approach. And it's also how we've approached other things when we've pushed for them. So for example, like in COVID, and just making sure EI was there for people and CERB, that it didn't just go to certain sectors, but actually went to workers. I like to call this the last mile of policy delivery, where it actually makes it from the legislature to your front door, to your kitchen table, and to your bank account. Because I find that's where a lot of parties stop. They get the legislation passed, but it never actually connects with your lived experience. And that's what I would like to make sure. And Mel, you're right. The NDP, when we get to go to Ottawa, we fight. And we fight really, really hard. Even though we don't win government necessarily, we get results. Because we make other political parties keep their promises, even if they don't want to. The other thing that I hear is affordability. I hear a lot about healthcare, but I'm going to leave that to some other folks to talk about. Just housing. A lot of the people that live in my community, they're worried about their kids affording housing. I absolutely love that one of the approaches that we have is a CMHC low interest mortgage, which I really think is going to be a game changer for younger people getting into the housing market. And I know there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't think of it. So maybe we'll come up in questions. But the other thing, why I wanted to run in the first place. So I was really frustrated because I felt like in my community, my voice wasn't necessarily being heard in Ottawa. That I had a representative, but the things they were saying weren't reflective of my experience. It's almost like they didn't live there. Like they didn't know what it was like to sit in a bunch of traffic on Terwilliger for every single morning. That they didn't realize what it was like to try to get to the grocery store and figure out the best price for things. It just seemed really disconnected. And I wanted to make it better. So I was like, I'm not going to just sit there. I actually want to run. And I want to put this issue of having a local voice and making sure that my experiences, my voices, and those of my community members are actually represented in Ottawa. And that was the main reason I wanted to run. And so just running, I want this to be a question for folks in my riding, is how are you connected to your representative? Do they talk to you? And do they listen to you? Because I know that I will, and that's a really important thing for me, is making sure that other people's voices, other people's experiences are heard and that we're actually addressing them. So that's a little bit about me. I'll hand you off to our next fabulous candidate.
Hello, everyone. My name's Harpreet Grewal, and I'm the NDP candidate for Edmonton Southeast. I've already met some of you, and some of you I haven't. I still think there's some that I haven't talked to yet. I am a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 22 years in the Edmonton area. I've worked in 3 of the hospitals out of the 4, and I've worked in medicine, I've worked in women's health, I've worked in postpartum, I've worked in various areas, even pulmonary medicine, yeah, I've been put through the ringer. I've done it all. And so being in healthcare as an active frontline worker, you actually get to see problems firsthand and how our healthcare system has deteriorated over the 22 years that it has passed. Like when I first started, this same emerged back here. Maybe 8-10 people would be sitting waiting for healthcare workers to kind of assess them, and now it's overfilled. Sometimes people are outside, even in the what's that transition area between the two doors. I've seen patients wait there as well, and it's disturbing to see that even though the population has increased, like past Ellerslie, past 34th Street. We have more and more houses being built, people coming, taxpayers, people that need that healthcare. We still have that same little hospital. No extra beds, nothing has been done to change it. And the Canada Health Act has promised us accessible healthcare. Now, accessibility is something that I feel is being, what shall I say? There's no measurement. What is accessible healthcare? Is it like 6 hours wait, 18 hours wait? Like, we need to have some benchmarks, and we need to have a way that Canada Health Act can be can have some teeth, so that the provinces can, if they're not following the accessibility requirements of the Canada Health Act, that they are brought to some kind of accountability by the federal government. So it's a shared responsibility. It's a federal and a provincial responsibility. It's not just the provinces. And therefore, I guess I decided to go to the top. I was frustrated, and I had talked about it with my coworkers. We constantly are complaining, but then no one's really doing anything about it. So I decided to run for that reason as well. And that's my primary reason, the healthcare. I think when everything else goes to shit, you lose your job, you can't afford groceries, you should at least have your healthcare. I'd be happy to take questions.
NDP have a policy focus in regards to the fact that the federal government does healthcare transfer dollars to the provinces, but in our particular province, for one, and in some others, everything is focusing on privatization. So would the NDP federally be looking at putting parameters around the use of that for efficient healthcare for everybody?
That's a very good question. The last time I heard Jagmeet speak, I think he said something about banning any kind of U.S. corporations from buying into our healthcare, like as in buying our infrastructure, any hospitals, anything like that. He just wants to ban it entirely. He does not want any infiltration from U.S. corporations to come into Canada. And he also mentioned that Alberta is ground zero for this because our premier, how shall I put it kindly, is purposely, no, I can't put it kindly. There's no way I can put it kindly. I tried. Our healthcare really needs an influx of money and investment. We need nurses, we need doctors, we need more hospitals, we need more beds, and all that is basically policy changes. And we do have a detailed plan in our NDP platform that addresses that, and I can talk to you more on that one-on-one.
So they would look at making some changes in
So that,
that's where it's going to come from.
yes,
right?
yeah,
There's got to be parameters that you say to the provinces, you have to use money in
This particular way.
this kind of service to
yes.
the citizens.
Yes, there has to be some kind of ratio, there has to be some measurements, some kind of assessment that you are actually meeting criteria. Otherwise, we're not going to give you the money. something like that. It has to have more teeth. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Possibly healthcare, and we 100% need it. That's not even a question about it. But where does the money come from? Where it seems to be heading to a recession. Inflation is out of the roof. Like, where do we get that money to invest in healthcare? Where do we take it from? Because every other service right now is also being cut.
Yes.
That's a question I have for you. And how would the NDP government solve that issue?
That's a tough question.
Maybe that's for all
a
of
tough
you guys.
question. I agree. That's a tough question. But we do have so many more taxpayers, and yet the services have not improved. I'm not saying like it's easy to vilify immigrants and say it's their fault. But a lot of those immigrants are working immigrants. They're working, they're paying the taxes, and they're contributing to our economy. So they're not really a drain on the system as they're perceived, and it's easy to blame somebody who just arrived because, well, they can't really fight back. And so the money aspect, I'm sure Jagmeet has a plan for it. I'm just not aware of that one. Can you want to handle that?
Anyone else want to add anything to that?
Do you want to handle that one?
To that comment?
You don't get tax cuts to really rich people. The other parties have explained their plans. So like the tax cut and the things that we have that would actually plus some of the money to the government are actually targeted. So it isn't just cutting the bottom tier of taxes, which then everyone benefits from. If you make $500,000 a year, because you likely don't get $500,000. It's likely not going to be impacting you, but it is a big impact on us, all of us, because it means we're underfunded.
Right.
And then the other thing is it's about priorities. So there are certain things that we can shift around to, and then we actually get a great return on investment when we spend as a society on certain things. Healthcare is one of those things. Because it's not like the cost of not doing it doesn't disappear. It just gets downloaded onto individual people.
That's right.
So if you can't afford medication, you're going to end up in the ER more often.
Yeah.
That's a cost for all of us. But maybe you can't work anymore. Now you're not able to pay taxes, you're not able to contribute. Maybe then you lose your house. Now there's more that we have to bring together. So there are things that we can preemptively do that's going to save us a lot in the long run. But we actually have to learn to invest in each other. Because we have to be able to invest in our life. I want my neighbors to have healthcare. I want healthcare. I want everyone to.
100%.
And it's a solid investment.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think you guys covered most of it. I think the only thing I add is that just with the same thing with healthcare and preemptive, you can give people more money in their pockets to fixing other problems like cracking industries, so that big corporations that are making record profits off of us right now we are saving money on other things like movies, so we can afford to spend a little more there. If you're eating healthier, you're not going to burn jars of water, you're not going to be eating some medication.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of everything needs to be fixed, but the fixed ones instead of the
Can I say something? At the end of the day, if you're a millionaire and your health sucks, and really, you're not going to be happy, right? So your health is actually the most important thing. That is the indicator of your quality of life. And if you have good health, everything else is doable. Finding that new job is doable. Going to school, studying hard is doable. Your health is really important. And if you're stressed, and if your healthcare is something that is a luxury item, because, I can't afford that doctor because, I want to do some preventative care, but I can't afford him because he's $400 a visit. That prevention is really something that you need to get. It would be nice if it was covered. It would be nice, yes.
So I have a second part to that question. Sorry, is that okay? My other question is about universal income. So that's something that Jagmeet talks about, universal income, so everyone would have a base income. What are your thoughts? I would like to all tell me what your thoughts are on that. If you have a thought on it. If you don't, it's okay.
No, not really. It would be helpful, but it also would be, it would drive inflation up a little bit because people would have more spending money, and then things might even get more costlier. It does work that way too, if you know your economics.
So my question really is there anything in your mandate which kind of focuses on making Canada independent, an independent economy, so to say?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in other words, I would say less dependent on US, because that's the burning thing right now across the nation. And I know people are working on it. It's not deliberate. It's just kind of pushed because of what's happening around the world. But is there any specific plans on building an independent economy as a nation?
Yes.
Did you want to take that one?
Well,
I could talk about some of it. You could talk about some of it.
yeah, okay. As far as the tariff war, which is causing a lot of uncertainty and the promise of a recession, we do have, we love the fact that all the premiers got together. We love that. Okay, we're totally on board with the fact that everybody's working together, removing interprovincial tariffs, and a lot of what the Liberals are doing, we've been saying it should have been done years ago. We didn't have to be kicked in the behind by the US to do this. We should have done this prior. We should have realized that we shouldn't be so codependent with just one country. And now that there's a breakup, it's like you realize how much stronger you can be, by pulling together every province. And I think there are already trade talks with different countries, and we're all on board with that. We're not any different from the Liberals in that respect, right? Yeah. We want more trade.
Yeah, and it is true that we, like the NDP and working people, have largely advocated that if we're going to open free trade, we don't do it with one country. We need to actually do it with every country, and that did not happen. And now we have to face those consequences. And I think it's also about sitting down and actually discussing things with industry, with workers, about how can we pivot. There's certain things that we will just want to ensure Canadians have access to. And no matter what country they're coming from, that we actually have the capability. So just like we did, what we've done before, where we pivoted distilleries to make hand sanitizers, are there actual businesses that are already here, Canadian businesses, that we can help to make sure that we have a strong base, just so we can start and helping those industries pivot, but also making sure that we're still giving them jobs.
I'm asking you a question.
Yep.
Safety.
Yes.
That lot of housing getting burned again here. Last week, 6 houses get burned. Today, shopping center get burned. So what's your opinion? How can you control?
I mean, I'd love to say that's not a federal issue, but the reality of most of the issues that we talk about is that we have to work together. So one of the things I really like about the NDP is that we work well with others, and we try to work well with others at every single level to actually get together to make real change, so that it's not just one level of government doing something while another is trying to interfere and say, well, that's my idea is better, I want to get credit for this. I don't care who gets credit, it needs to just work. Because every single level of government actually needs to work for people.
How does the NDP use their influence to help us here on the local level?
Yeah, and that's something I actually would love to talk on, is that watching our fellow MPs in the city already, Heather McPherson, Blake Desjardins, I watched them, especially over the pandemic, speaking up on issues that Albertans faced when our provincial government wasn't doing enough. They were the vocal person for us in Ottawa, in Parliament. They were speaking up for our behalf on what we needed the help with the most. And I see that now, especially with when we have a government that's not necessarily doing everything it should be doing in the province. Having a federal government to help hold them accountable is important. And I think we saw that especially well with the coalition between the Liberal government and the NDP government, because despite the NDP not having as much power as the Liberals, we held their feet to the fire when it came to important issues like dental care, like pharmacare. We worked to push them to follow through on their promises. That's what having an NDP government in office does for you. It's not necessarily that you're going to get a majority government. What you're going to get is a strong representation that's going to hold them accountable. Instead of giving a majority, one party, not having to follow through on anything, you have a small group of government workers who can fight for your issues, the local issues that you're facing, and hold your government accountable to what they said they would do.
That's what you get. With an NDP government, we don't make promises that we don't keep. We push for what matters, and we always follow through. Love to say, hey, here's my 5-point plan where I'm going to rescue everybody and I'll fix everything and all the jobs like that. It'd be great. But we don't have it. Because it's way more complex. I've seen so many times where it's look at why our economy is not doing well right now, and the control that we have over that is not an absolute. But one of the things that the NDP does do really well is we make sure the safety nets are there.
Yes, yeah.
Because the reality is nobody wants to do anything. Nobody is like, oh, I'm enjoying staying at home and applying for 70 jobs a day. Like that actually is one of the worst things for your health, to be unemployed.
Yes,
it's
yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
So we make sure that people don't fall through the cracks. Yeah. Unfortunately, over the last decades, liberal and conservative governments have cut those safety nets. And they haven't invested in them, which is an investment in people. And so we need to actually lift everybody up to make sure that no one is falling behind. And it's not going to 100% fix unemployment. It's not going to get everyone jobs, but people need to stay in their homes. People need to eat. Like people still need to access healthcare, and we need to make sure that that's okay. And this also opens up new spaces for people to start businesses. There's so many. Like I have a young family. I talk to people that have young families. They would love to start businesses. They would love to try new careers, but they can't. The risk is they would lose their homes, but their families won't eat. And I feel like that really leaves us with creativity and people's potential. Is that the risk is so much for people that they can't actually take that step, and that step could help us all. And so we're really holding people back by not ensuring safety. So it's not going to be a perfect fix, but you're not going to be left alone to deal with it all.
I do know that the EI plan is to increase the EI amount. I also know that we want to make it more easily accessible faster. So if you do lose your job, you shouldn't have to wait so long. And we want to increase the term up to 50 weeks so that you feel safer. And this is all because of the tariffs though. All these safety nets we're introducing because we see some kind of, we have somebody very unstable down south who keeps us on our toes, and we don't know what they're going to do next. And therefore, we want to make sure the workers, the people that already have jobs, have some kind of safety net, as my friend here is saying. So, but those are more specifics for EI.
Nobody is in that situation except for a profit that's being paid by some universities. And then some of the other things is like, if we are gonna bring you here and you're gonna work here and we need you, then we need to make it easier for you to actually be able to have rights here and to be able to stand up for the rights, to give you rights faster, to make it work. I don't know if there's other things you wanted to add.
Doctors and nurses coming from abroad, we need to make it easier for them to assimilate into our healthcare system. We need, I think the NDP has a plan to increase 1,000 residency spots for doctors so that they can get experience in our healthcare system so that they can start working faster. Like, we need doctors, we need nurses, and there needs to be a plan so that we can get them working here faster and not blocking them from working. They shouldn't be driving taxis, man. A qualified doctor should be.
I've met quite a few people on the doors who I tell them about the election and they come in, they're not eligible to vote. And it feels like we don't give them a voice saying what matters to them. In that sense, it's just like, if they can't vote, they can't necessarily get what they have a voice in government. And I think if you keep electing people who aren't going to give them a voice, then we're never going to see improvement. And I think electing officials who care about people, even if they're not able to vote them in, I think that's important.
So I still do this since probably 10 years ago. And talk about people here who are taking jobs away from I can tell you I advertised jobs over, and those jobs, no one wanted those jobs. So the thing is, how do we, so I get where you're coming from. I agree with you, I don't disagree with you. But the problem is, if we can't find local people, what options do we have? We had no option other than to bring people that would come and actually take those jobs. I think what's happened is we've kind of created a society where the lowest of the low jobs, no one wants them. So the problem is we have to bring in temporary foreign workers to actually take those jobs because no one else wants them. So I don't know if there's the program has to be balanced, I guess.
Yes.
But I think there's positives and negatives for everything.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not a bad program because again, companies need people to work. Without people, I couldn't operate. I was running 4 stores and I was running back and forth to my 4 stores because there was no employees. Then the temporary foreign worker program came in. I brought 4 people from the Philippines, and honestly, they reduced my stress. They ran my business very efficiently, very openly, and it helped me. So I think the temporary foreign worker program does work in some instances. In some instances, it's exploited. So that's. Yeah. But I agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, I think there is importance to those kind of programs in society.
No, yeah, I agree. The issue I have is that we don't actually enforce these.
Yeah.
So like that if you go so one of my things is policy should be evidence-based. When we look at the evidence and the research on the temporary foreign worker program, it is used.
Yeah.
And there's certainly businesses that are using it legitimately and they are going through the processes, but you will find there's a lot of exploitation in it, and we don't need that. We actually don't want businesses to feel like they have to exploit people in order to survive because they're competitors. That is not something that we need.
Agreed.
But I agree. It's just that we actually haven't focused on enforcement there. If we did, we might be talking about a whole different program that we have right now.
Myself and the group Raj are here. I'll just give a quick intro before I pass it on to Raj. The SIFARISH network, very quick introduction, is a South Asian community-based activation and engagement platform. That's a mouthful. What that means is the mandate of our organization is to bring people together, and it's to provide information. So the word SIFARISH actually means reference. So if you want a reference to become an informed voter, or you have a kid in school, or you're a business owner, today one of our members, his name is Gultas Seth, he's not here today. He owns this great restaurant. He just opened it maybe a couple of months ago. And so we bring business owners together and we provide a platform basically for the community to show their talents, and we build bridges. We build bridges between the South Asian community is quite large and diverse, and more importantly, we like to act as an advocate for the community to the mainstream, so you can understand what our community is about and have one place to interact. So that's a little bit what I think about SIFARISH, so I'll pass that on.
Again, as Sunny said, SIFARISH is a passion of ours. It's not something that we get paid to do. It's a non-profit organization. Me and him have been working and building this organization for 3 years. We're finally in Edmonton, Calgary, Victoria, and Vancouver, looking to expand across Canada in the next 2 years. So we put a lot of effort in this, and we're very proud of what we do. We try to do events that are informative for people to be able to come out, interact with other people. So we reached out to these candidates, and they're graciously here. We do really appreciate that they came out today. Turnouts are always hard to figure out if it's going to be a lot of people or not. We put the messages out on social media, through our contacts, through our media contacts, and whoever comes. But we're happy to have all of you here today, the people that are here to support and talk to these individuals. So what we'll do is now we'll introduce these individuals. We'll give them a few minutes to tell you guys about themselves, and then we can maybe ask questions if there's any.
So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Madeline.
I wanna say thank you so much for the SIFARISH network for inviting us to the event, especially just to give be involved in governance.
Oh, good. This one work better?
No, that's okay.
And also just welcoming us to share our experiences and our ideas with you, because it's so important to get that opportunity and to share it with the community. More importantly, I really want to thank the SIFARISH network for creating a space for this community to come together and support each other.
having a community, having a network to support journeys, successes, and goals in a community like this through personal, professional, business endeavors. It's can be a change that it can be a real powerful opportunity for people who really need that help getting their foot in the door when it comes to their career. So it's so important to have an organization like this to give them that support. So I'm really grateful we have an organization like this in our city. So I grew up in Southern Edmonton myself, and I've learned the importance of having a community around you to give you those supports. I've gotten where I am thanks to the support of friends, of family, of neighbors, of mentors, and it's something that I've worked with the NDP for many years to build. But I've also worked for nonprofits and small businesses in Edmonton as well, so I understand the importance of having a strong network to build up that experience with each other. I've also felt the challenges of affordability in my own life. I'm the child of a single mother, and growing up we struggled to afford things like groceries, to pay rent, to keep up with the bills every month. I guess when I was growing up, I didn't get to go to the dentist. I didn't have dental care, and it was a struggle. It's a luxury that most people couldn't afford, and I didn't actually get to go until I was able to afford my own insurance through my university. And watching the National Dental Care Plan that the NDP pushed for to come forward, and knowing that no other child will ever experience the same things that I did, it's astonishing to know that something like that, like a policy like that, could happen in my lifetime, because it's not something that I don't think any of us ever saw coming through. And that's something that I think really shows the NDP and what it values most is the people and the experiences that they deserve, the community that they deserve, having a voice that's going to speak for those people, having someone who's going to push for what Edmontonians need. I've spoken to quite a few working families in Gateway looking for affordability, looking for grocery caps, looking for tax cuts and GST breaks on things like essential items. Looking for housing that they can afford to raise a family in. I'm running to continue to see that families like this can afford the things they need and can have the support that they deserve to have in Edmonton Gateway. Every child should be able to visit the dentist and should be able to have a roof over their head and food to eat. And you shouldn't have to choose between breakfast and paying your bills. The NDP will fight for Edmontonians, will fight for you. They've proven that they will do it. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. I really hope that I can count on your support to continue to build better in Edmonton Gateway for Edmontonians like you. Thank you.
ਵਧੀਆ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਚੰਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾਯੋਗ ਕੰਮ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਨੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਿਤਕਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਬਾਇਸਡ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਗੈਰ ਹਰੇਕ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਹ NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਜੋ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਹੋਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਵਾਂਗੇ। ਨਾਓ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਅ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਫਰੋਮ ਗੇਟਵੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਮੈਡਲਾਈਨ। So now we just asking her, so you are decided to run a MP election, and what to decide this and what your motive to in end?
Yeah, I decided to run as an MP because I believe fully that we deserve better in Edmonton Gateway, that we deserve a representative that's going to fight for the things that families need. They're going to fight for affordable housing. They're going to fight for grocery caps, tax cuts, and breaks on the GST for essential items that people need. I think it's important to have an MP who's going to stand up for everyday people, the working class, and it's so important that we have someone there.
I just want to ask you that your party support the Liberal for last this full term because Liberal in the minority, and if again the minority government came, did your party support the Liberal again?
I can't speak for the entire party, but I do believe we got a lot done when we had a agreement with the Liberal Party. We ended up pushing up for a lot, such as dental care, pharmacare. I believe that we were strongest when we were holding their feet to the fire.
Yeah, and while in the long time, Canadian politics is run around the local issue. But after the Mr. Trump is in the power, all the Canadian politician is run about the tariff. And what your party has any solution or how you deal with the tariff? Your party will deal with the tariff.
Yes, I believe our party stands pretty strong with the same ideas on the tariffs. Outreach with the international community is definitely our focus, but I still think it's important to focus on local issues because just focusing on the bigger picture, we lose track of the things that we need here in Edmonton as well. I think if you get lost too far in the national, you're going to forget about the little people here.
You told in your speech, your party is basically concerned about the healthcare. So what is your plan? Because now it's government, your party always say the government is a plan to privatizing the healthcare. And if your party is coming to power, and what is your plan to improve the healthcare services?
Yes, it's been talked about. Jagmeet's spoken about working to crack down on the privatization that's been seen and really enforce the Canada Health Act to make sure that we have a way of holding people accountable to this system, because right now the provincial governments can sometimes do what they want and not necessarily stick to the rules that we've set for them federally, and that's not the Canada that I know.
Okay, thank you, Melanie, and best of luck for your election.
Thank you so much.
Now with us, Suzanne Cake, who is running from the Edmonton Riverbed. So you're running for MP elections. So what is your motive and why you decide to running as MP?
Yeah. I felt like I wasn't getting a voice that really represented my lived experience in Edmonton Riverbend, that it just didn't seem like what was happening in Parliament in Ottawa was reflective of what it was like to live here, the struggles of living here, and I wanted to see that more. So I wanted to run just to put the idea of having local voice represented in Ottawa as the first thing. After that, affordability, healthcare, these are and dealing with the United States and ensuring no one gets left behind. Those were the things that were really motivating me to run and to see the change that I wanted, essentially.
And after Mark Carney has become a prime minister, we see in the polls, the Liberals' vote share is going up, and yours in the polls, your vote share is going down. What do you say about these surveys, and what can you please explain and you just share with us our viewers so the ground reality of the survey?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have great data when it actually comes to specific ridings. So a lot of these polls, they take national data and they apply it to specific ridings. So the number of people in each riding that are actually asked this may not reflect the reality. When I talk to people on the doors, there's just a lot of frustration. There's a lot, and I always tell them, vote for what you would like to see, because I don't think I've been in a single election where I wasn't told I should strategically vote, I should vote a different way, I should hold my nose and vote. And it's never really worked out for me. So for me, it's voting what you would actually like to see and trying to push towards that in the future. Because the only poll that really matters is the one that happens on the day that everyone votes.
And your party support the minority government in the past. And do you think you will solve all the problem or issue which you want to solve?
We are very effective about making sure campaign promises are met, not just for us, but also other parties. And so I don't think we're going to solve everything, but we can make life a lot better because there's a lot of easy things that we can do to actually help people.
So for the candidate, the both party, they are far ahead, and NDP is little bit late to announcing their candidate. So do you think you are catch up that parties?
We actually announced my candidacy in the summer.
That's good for you.
So we are ahead, and we've been door knocking and talking to people. We have a really strong on the ground campaign that involves connecting with people. We do not take votes for granted, and we work hard to earn them. And that is how we also will work in Ottawa.
Sometimes the voters say you are part with the Liberal government, and you also condemn the Liberal government. So if the possibility in the future Liberal have their minority again, or any party have minority again, do you think your party will be part of the government?
I think we need to work together with whoever's in power, and we can't determine that. And so we just need to be prepared. And even any level of government after that, so provincial, if it's conservative, if it's liberal, if it's something else, we need to work with them. That's the reality of being elected, is that you don't necessarily get to pick who else is elected, and that's fine, but you should be prepared to work with anybody.
Thank you, Suzanne, and best of luck with your election.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਨੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਤੋਂ NDP ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਗਰੇਵਾਲ ਜੀ। ਆਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਇਸ MP ਦੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀਰ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ।
ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਊਅਰਸ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 35 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਸਾਈਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ। ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਟੈਗਰਲ ਪਾਰਟ ਆਫ ਦਿਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਰਸ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਆਈ ਫੀਲ ਆਈ ਵਾਂਟਡ ਟੂ expand my seva to include more people. And I just want to do some changes. I want to make changes for the healthcare situation in our southeast community. अपना hospital onna की इक्को ही आ, अपनी जनता किन्नी वधी हुई है, अपने 17 स्ट्रीट वाल तक तो आप पहुंचे हुए हैं, उधर दूसरे पासे अपना एलर्जी तो भी गांव काफ़ी पहुंच गए हैं एंड हॉस्पिटल हले साढ़े उन्नी या 4 है एडमिंटन दे विच एंड अपनी प्रोविंस ना is not keeping up. It's not keeping up with the population. It's not keeping up with the standards of care. And I work with great nurses, great doctors, बहुत ही मेहनती doctors, बहुत ही मेहनती nurses. And वो double shift भी लाउंदियां हैं, काम ते जांदियां हैं ते फिर double shift दोबारा pick करदियां overtime. तां जो patients नू ना feel होवे भी enough nurses नहीं हैगियां. And it's really at a crisis point. And I think we need to invest in our healthcare more, especially tariffs de apne trade situation karke, kyunki people need at least vichal kam se kam apni healthcare ta theek hai na ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮੁਲਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਆਉਣੇ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਹੂਲਤਾਂ ਤਾਂ evaporate ਹੋਈ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਐਂਡ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੀਬੀ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਤ I wasn't feeling well ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ 12 ਘੰਟੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੂੰਗੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ and so I was like well that's the situation, they don't want to go because care is not available.
ਠੀਕ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ 22 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਨਰਸ ਜੌਬ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ MP ਲਈ ਹੁਣ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ 'ਚ ਆ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਡੀਲ ਕੀਤਾ, ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ?
No, but I have been a business owner and I have run businesses myself, so I do know the struggles of running a business and how all this can affect, you know, our business community as well, because ਜਦੋਂ instability ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਲੋਕੀ economically ਤੰਗ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, they don't spend as much. That translates to people not spending in their businesses. They don't go to the restaurants as much. They don't go and spend on things that they would normally do, and it is apne small businesses काफी affected hundiyan hai ina gallan karke. So I really want small businesses to know the NDP actually are really good for small business. We're not good for corporations, but we're really good for small business.
ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ ਅਗਲਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੇਨਲੀ ਤਾਂ 2 ਪਾਰਟੀ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਵਾਲਾ NDP ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਚੁਣਿਆ? ਇਹਦਾ ਮੇਨ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇਹੀ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਸਮਾਲ ਸਕੇਲ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ?
It's actually the only party ਜਿਹੜੀ healthcare ਦੀ ਕੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ. It's the only party that actually came up with healthcare, ਜਿਹਨੇ pharma care push ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਿਹਨੇ dental care push ਕੀਤਾ. ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਵੈਰੀ ਔਖੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮੰਨੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਸੀਗੀ, and then the UCP have always voted against everything. No, they don't let anything pass. So it's the NDP that only cares about the safety net for people, for the EI, for all the things that really matter, especially when times are looking like they're going to be tough.
ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਾਈਨੋਰਟੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ NDP ਨੇ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਦੇਖਣ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ? ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਲੋ 2-4 ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਡਿਮਾਂਡਾਂ ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਮੰਨੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਫਾਰਮਾ ਕੇਅਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਡੈਂਟਲ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ, ਤੇ ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਰਵੇ ਜੇ ਕਈ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ NDP ਨੂੰ ਦਿਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਬਾਕੀ ਬਾਕੀ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣ ਵੇਲੇ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਨੂੰ ਗਲਤ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਸਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ?
well ਗੱਲ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ minority government ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, collaborate ਕਰਦੀ ਆ, there has to be some give and take and you have to work with the other party in order to get bills passed. You can't just say, you know, I'm not going to work with you, and doesn't mean that that's just how it's happened in the past before, ਪਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਕਿਹਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਸੈਲ ਆਊਟ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਇਹ ਆ ਲਾਈਕ ਦੇ it's really important that we understand that ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਬਿੱਲ ਪਾਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ।
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਓਪੋਨੈਂਟ ਬੜੇ ਮਜ਼ੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਨੇ ਰਾਜਨੀਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਡੋਰ ਟੂ ਡੋਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਪਈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਰਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਬੜਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਆਏ ਆ, ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੈਂਡਲ ਕਰੋਗੇ?
Well, I guess you're just gonna have to try and see, right? ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓਗੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਊਂਗੀ ਲੜੂੰਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪੇ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ this is the good choice, this is the better choice, because even though ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, I have the desire to help. ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ constituency listen ਕਰਾਂ, and yes, I'm not a standard politician, you know, I am not very ਮੈਨੂੰ ਝੂਠ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ।
ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਭ ਕਾਮਨਾਵਾਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਨੇ ਸਨੀ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਦੇ ਕੋ ਫਾਊਂਡਰ ਨੇ। ਆਓ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਅੱਜ, ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲਈ ਰੱਖਿਆ, ਅੱਜ NDP ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਣੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਆ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ?
ਮੋਟਿਵ ਭਾਜੀ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਐਂਡ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਇਜ਼ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ that ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਨ ਵਨ ਪਲੇਸ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਫ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਪਾਰਟ ਆਫ ਦ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ। ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇਨ ਦਿਸ ਕੇਸ ਅਗਰ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਨਫੋਰਮ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ NDP ਕੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਜਾਂ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ, ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾਨ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਵੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਐਂਡ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਵੀਆਰ ਨਾਟ ਸੇਇੰਗ ਦੈਟ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ 10 ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਨੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੂਜ਼ ਕਰੋ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਮੋਟਿਵ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਵਾਂਟ ਆਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਕਨੈਕਟਡ ਐਂਡ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੌਲੇਜੇਬਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕੀ ਚੱਕਰ ਹੈ। ਐਂਡ ਇਨ ਦਿਸ ਏਰੀਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁੰਤਾਸ ਭਾਜੀ ਦਾ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਸਪਾਈਸ ਬ੍ਰਦਰਸ, ਸੋ ਗੁੰਤਾਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ਰ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ, ਇਵੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਐਂਡ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ। ਸੋ that was our purpose।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਓਨਰ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਨੇ, ਸੋ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਬਣੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕੀ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਐਡਵਰਟੀਜ਼ਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਸੈਮੀਨਾਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਰੋਥ ਕਰਦੇ?
ਸੋ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਆ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ, ਐਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਓਨਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਮੇਨ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ, ਗੋਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਆਈਦਰ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੌਰਗੇਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਬੈਂਕ ਦਾ ਲੋਨ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਟਾਇਰ ਸ਼ਾਪ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਅ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਸਟੇਜ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਕੌਣ ਚੰਗਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, ਵੀ ਵਾਂਟ ਐਵਰੀਬਡੀ ਟੂ ਨੋ। ਸੋ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਦਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਦੈਟ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਵੇ ਐਂਡ ਨਾਟ ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਬੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਆ, ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਈਏ। ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਵਿਦਆਊਟ ਐਨੀ ਡਿਵੀਜ਼ਨ, ਐਂਡ ਜੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਈਏ ਐਂਡ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਟੂਗੇਦਰ, ਬਹੁਤ ਪਾਵਰ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਉਹੀ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਵਾਂਟ ਐਵਰੀਵਨ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਟੂਗੇਦਰ ਐਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੇਬਲ ਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਸਕੀਏ ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਬੀ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟਡ ਟੂਗੇਦਰ।
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਹੈ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼, ਇਹ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਸ ਸਿਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਆਲ ਓਵਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ?
ਇਟਸ ਆਲ ਓਵਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ। ਸੋ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ 'ਚ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕੈਲਗਰੀ 'ਚ ਹੈਗਾ, ਵਿਕਟੋਰੀਆ 'ਚ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸਾਸਕਟੂਨ ਤੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਐਵਰੀ ਸਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡਾ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੈਗਾ ਐਂਡ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਨਾਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਆ, ਐਂਡ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲ ਹੋ that's $50 per year, so ਬਹੁਤ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਆ। ਐਂਡ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਿਸ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੈਵਲ ਰੱਖਿਆ, 250 ਛੋਟੇ ਦਾ, 500 ਮਿਡਲ ਦਾ ਐਂਡ 1000 ਵੱਡੇ ਦਾ। ਐਂਡ ਉਸ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਕੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਕਰਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਵੀ ਕੈਨ ਕਨੈਕਟ ਯੂ ਟੂ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੰਦਾ, ਐਂਡ ਉਹੀ ਪਾਵਰ ਹੈ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਦਾ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਨੀ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। ਤੇ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਹਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੋਟਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਣ ਲਈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦੱਸਣ ਲਈ। ਅੱਜ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਦਿਨ ਸੀਗਾ। ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਗੇਟਵੇ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਈਸਟ ਤੇ ਰਿਵਰ ਬੈਂਡ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ NDP ਦੇ ਉਹ ਆਏ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਦੱਸੇ ਤੇ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਵੀ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਨੀ ਜੀ ਦਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਿਫਾਰਿਸ਼ ਨੈਟਵਰਕ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋ ਫਾਊਂਡਰ ਨੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਤੇ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਆਉਣਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਲਈ ਨਮਸਕਾਰ।